So this is one of the more creative wishes I've seen, and I actually sort of admire it in a way. Dr. Frederick Bauer created the packaging for the Pringles chips, a sort of iconic tube that I recall very fondly from my childhood. He desired for his ashes to be placed in a Pringles can when he died, and I love this. Can't think of anything more perfect for somebody like that, especially because we actually do often fight over ashes in the cases. It's a very common thing that we deal with, so I like the Pringles can story.
After passing in 1881, Jonathan Jackson's will ordered his executors to erect a very special home for his cats. Its most notable features included dormitories, a communal dining area, grounds for exercise, gently sloping roofs for climbing, and rat holes for sport. It even had an auditorium where the cats were assembled daily to listen to an accordion because Jackson said it was the natural musical language of cats.
That's nice. That's a good life for a cat.
Well, I've seen cat cases before. I've seen where people who are logical people, loving people, but didn't have any relatives, left everything for the benefit of their cat. I think that lucky cat.
I wonder if there would be somebody put in charge of the money for the cat, right? I mean, you're not just going to put a bank account with a cat's name on it.
But the cat probably doesn't even know. It's just eating the same cat food, and the money goes on some point in the future. And I suppose it kind of gets down to, if that's the way he wants to leave his money, he can leave his money to the cat house.
You just got to put the right person in charge of the money and make sure you trust them to fulfill those wishes. More power to him.
The famous Houdini set up a provision of his will to direct his wife to hold a seance once a year for 10 years to see if during that seance Houdini would cross back over to meet her. And this apparently was given his obsession with the spirit world and proving that as false.
After trying to contact Houdini for 10 straight years, Bess Houdini finally told reporters from the New York Times, 10 years is long enough to wait for any man.
That's great. I wonder if her inheritance was conditioned on her doing those seances every year. Because I don't know that would be something that you could enforce.
I suppose if we're honoring the true value of a will or a trust to respect someone's freedom and autonomy to direct what they'd like, then this would be one of the more eccentric wishes that someone honored under a will.
It's a little impossible, I think, to make somebody trying to communicate with you in your death a condition of inheriting the money.
I would recommend against a provision like this and maybe advise them to suggest this outside of a legal document. Apparently, Kris Jenner is interested in saving her bones when she dies so that someone can make jewelry out of it.
That one's rather morbid.
This would certainly not be my preference, but I suppose this is her body, and if the family has the resources to do it and has some taste to make some jewelry out of it, then well, so be it.
I think it's creepy, but certainly, you're entitled to request anything you want done with your remains that's legal.
It's just strange how certain people approach death. I don't think I'd do that estate plan. I think I'd send them to a lawyer that I don't like.
Less than a year before his death, Benjamin Franklin added an addendum to his will. In it, he bequeathed 1,000 pounds sterling to the cities of Boston and Philadelphia to be used to fund loans for young tradesmen starting out in business. As the second century of Franklin's trust drew to a close, Boston's trust fund was worth $4.5 million. Philadelphia's was worth $2 million. From 1962 to 1976, loans totaling $3,476,000 went to 1,749 young people who, at the time of receiving help, were mostly living at bare subsistence level.
Benjamin Franklin's plan to have them have to sit on that money was really, really smart.
I think the Benjamin Franklin Trust was fascinating. And it just shows the kind of prescience that he had to look downstream and think about the compound value of money.
Well, it sounds like this was the best case scenario for a trust to last 2 centuries and to help so many people.
I admire that someone is thinking about, how they're going to utilize what they've earned in life for the benefit of others, even if the others are going to be born 50 or 100 years from now. And it's fascinating, and certainly that's another part of the human condition. That's one that you look at and admire.
To watch the full episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, download the free VeryLocal app.